The following 3 participants are in the conference.
AV room.
Gene Bishop. Supervisor Angus.
Let's call the meeting to order. If you all please rise for the invocation by Reverend April Cox from the Abundant Life Fellowship. And stay for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. O God, we pray for our Board of County Supervisors who have been entrusted to lead Mojave County and to improve the lives of our fellow citizens. Grant them wisdom, understanding, counsel, and strength, that they may uphold what is right and follow that which is true. May your divine grace be upon them now and forever. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Will the clerk take the roll, please?
Supervisor Watson?
Present.
Supervisor Angus? Supervisor Angus?
I think we heard her on the phone.
She's present. She has
might be having problems.
Yeah, a little trouble with her phone, but she is on the line. Supervisor Bishop?
I'm here, thank you.
Supervisor Moss?
Here.
And Chairman Johnson?
Here. We need the board to call for a motion for an executive session to be held November 7th, 2016 at 9 a.m. I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Committee and Legislative Reports. Mr. Moss, or Supervisor Moss?
None, thank you.
Supervisor Watson?
None this morning.
Supervisor Angus?
I'm here, man. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Yes. You can hear me now?
Yes.
Hello? The only thing I want to say is happy birthday to Supervisor Moss.
Happy birthday.
It's my birthday.
Happy birthday.
Supervisor Bishop?
I have no report. Happy birthday.
And the only thing I have to offer is a BLM Desert Advisory Authority met this weekend. The key item is that Russell Schofield was been named the head and coordinating implementation efforts for all conservation areas and expanded areas, and those are effective immediately, as Secretary Jewell has signed off. I also submitted a letter as a chairman of Quad State Local Government Authority regarding the Fish and Wildlife Services mitigation. That's all I have. County Manager's Administrator's report.
No report, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
All right. Next, I'll have a call to the public here. Mr. Ken Works, would you please come forward, state your name and your address for the record, please.
Good morning. I'm Ken Works. I live in Yucca, 86438 area code and zip code. I just have a brief. I found a pamphlet, an election pamphlet last night, going through some papers. And on page 6, this is a 2008 pamphlet. There's a map of all the legislative districts. And on the back side of the same page, there's a breakdown of the districts for Phoenix metro area and Tucson metro area. Now, about the time they started this gerrymandering business a few years ago, they quit putting these maps in the information pamphlets, and I don't know if there's anything that the supervisors can do about it, but I think that we should be able to know what the boundaries are of our legislative district. And I know with the last gerrymandering, we got our number changed from District 3 to District 4. And I'd like to be able to see a map of this if there's anything that supervisors can do about it. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Stephen Cox.
Good morning. My name's Stephen Cox. I live in Golden Valley. And the statement I just wanted...
Excuse me, I'm sorry. We need your address for the record, please.
It's 669 South Santa Maria Road in Golden Valley. And the statement I wanted to make to the board was I'm a refugee from the Socialist Republic of California. And we located about 3 years ago as a temporary residence in Golden Valley. And in our retirement, my wife and I have just grown to love our lives here. And the statement I wanted to make, I wish the entire board was here for me to make it to them, but I've served on boards and committees, and I know I learned two things serving on them. A, it's hard. It's very hard. And the biggest thing is that it's thankless, and that you rarely have people come before you to thank you for what it is you've done. And the opinions that we've been able to form about life in Golden Valley is we have one thing to thank for the beauty of it, and that's the actions of the Board of Supervisors. And I know you rarely get thanks, and I just wanted to come before you and thank you for the efforts and the compromises that you've made with one another, because I know how hard it is to reach compromise, having done it for years. So I just wanted to thank you, and I hope that that message can get to Chairman Bishop and Supervisor Angus as well. And thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Mr. Dustin Lewis.
Good morning. My name's Dustin Lewis, 270 El Rancho, Kingman. And I just come here with a lot of thanks from Mojave County for High Desert 66 BMX at the Mojave County Fairgrounds. In the earlier days, just short of 4 years ago, we came to the Mojave County and the city of Kingman to build this facility in different locations with help greatly of Mojave County supervisors at that time. We were able to secure an area in Mojave County Fairgrounds, and close to the end of our third year of operation, just a week ago, we were able to hold the 2016 DK Gold Cup Southwest Finals. It was a great event, approximately 3,000 in attendees, 90% of those almost being from out of town that we brought in. And it was a great event. But prior to that event, there was a lot of improvements that needed to be made for us to meet the requirements for USA BMX to bring in this event. One of those was ground coverings, and asphalt millings was secured by Mojave County. And we had a local contractor, Lewis Equipment Services, donated the application of that. But without those asphalt millings, we wouldn't have been able to hold this event. It's some improvements to the fairgrounds. We've got a lot more planned in the future, but this couldn't have been done. This event couldn't have been held. And this track, which holds 2 races and sometimes training events on a weekly basis, 50 weeks a year, for all these kids and adults in Kingman and Mojave County, couldn't have been possible without Mojave County and the Board of Supervisors support. So we couldn't thank you enough.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next is the consent agenda. Items 5 through 31 will be taken as one motion unless a supervisor wishes to pull something off. Supervisor Angus, do you have anything you'd like to pull off the consent?
None.
Supervisor Bishop?
I do not, thank you.
Supervisor Moss?
None, thank you.
Supervisor Watson?
None.
We'll entertain a motion to approve items 5 through 31.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion
Aye.
carried. Item number 32. Discussion and possible action, Board of Supervisors Resolutions 2016-128. We have somebody that's going to address us on this? Mr. Taylor.
Thank you, Chairman Johnson. This is an item that was on the last agenda, and it was continued in order to give the County Attorney's Office an opportunity to review the agreement. The agreement has been reviewed by Bill Ekstrom, and I reviewed it myself, and it basically tracks the statute 11-604.01, which enables the treasurer to act on behalf of the special taxing districts at issue in securing a line of credit. The line of credit is based on a percentage of the revenue generated by the special taxing district. The disbursements under the line of credit are secured by that revenue, and the institution's only recourse is against that revenue. It does not go against the county or the county treasurer's office. And this is basically just enables the county treasurer to act on behalf of the special taxing district, obtain advances, and keep the for operations of the taxing district. So I reviewed the contract. It tracks the statute, and Bill Ekstrom has reviewed it as well. So.
Great.
I guess the question I would have, and I had this before, is why is Mojave County's name on this and not the treasurer's name?
The Mojave County approves it. The treasurer is not a distinct contracting entity, so I would think it would have to be with Mojave County. The treasurer just acts as the agent for the taxing district.
But previously, I've never seen these come before the board with all the other lines of credit. I don't recall these coming in where we had to sign them. I believe the treasurer did them, but this seems to have more of Mojave County's name on them, like we're guaranteeing something.
Right. Well, actually, in the body of the contract, it states that the recourse is not against the county or the county treasurer.
Those are the only questions I have. Anybody else have any questions?
No, don't have any questions. I'll make a motion for adoption.
Second.
A motion and a second. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, item number 33, Board of Supervisors Resolution 2016-105. I have one person wishing to address on this item, Mr. Stephen Robinson. This is a public hearing, so it's open to anyone.
I'm Stephen Robinson, 3439 North Bowie Road in Golden Valley. I had planned, before this election cycle began, to be fully prepared today with a meeting having already occurred with the Transportation Commission for reconsideration of this item. Because of the election, because of my tardiness, I have not acquired all the necessary paperwork, one of which is the item with the owner of two temporary, or the grantor of two temporary easements, Peter Cimino and Castle Rock LLC. He has indicated his full willingness to give permanent easement to the county for the right-of-way through the properties. And therefore, because that was one of the objections that Mr. Latosky had stated was a concern. So I'm going to beg the board's indulgence for another 30-day continuance on this item, so we don't have to bring it back a year or so from now. But I've heard from a lot of citizens just this past weekend that they really would like to see Chino Road to Cross Ranch Road and up to Highway 93 for a right turn to go to Kingman as an alternative to coming down to Highway 68. And I've talked to traffic engineers that said anything that keeps traffic from intersecting with 68 and having to take that very dangerous left-hand turn is an advantage to the public. And so I'm just asking for another 30-day continuance, by which time we will have this taken care of. I will have an opportunity to go before the Transportation Commission with the additional documentation and a request for reconsideration. Any questions?
Anyone else who wishes to address the board on this issue? If not, I'll close the public hearing. What's the pleasure of the board? I guess we could hear from, does the staff still have the same opposition to this?
Mr. Chairman, I asked Mr. Letowski to come up and address that.
Good morning, Chairman Johnson, members of the board. This concerns two public petitions to establish the easternmost section of Chino Drive, which is currently maintained by Mojave County as an unsurfaced roadway for approximately 1/2 mile, as well as a section of Cross Ranch Road, approximately 1/2 mile, that's unsurfaced and also maintained by Mojave County as county highways. Staff, as part of this process, provides an engineer's report. It does not represent a recommendation. It merely provides information, namely technical information, to both the Transportation Commission as well as the Board of Supervisors for their consideration. But just to summarize very briefly, the Chino Drive is unsurfaced and carries about 98 vehicles per day, and that would be east of Bosque Drive. Cross Ranch Road is carrying about 70 vehicles per day. It does not have continuous right-of-way as of present. Cross Ranch Road intersects US 93, where US 93 does not have a full crossover, so vehicles approaching US 93 would only be relegated to right turns only toward the direction of Coyote Pass and Greater Kingman, versus being able to make a left turn as is permitted for traffic at the Agua Fria crossover. And lastly, with regard to this corridor serving as a road of regional significance, it would only reduce the travel distance to the public by about 1.8 miles. So really any improvement to this roadway would pretty much be tailored toward benefiting those residents local to that area that utilize those roadways. And I should point out in closing that as per Resolution 2000-50, establishing county highways the action itself does not establish any guarantees with regard to county investment in acquiring right-of-way and or improving the roadway. This would just be merely establishing it as a county highway and affording that opportunity for the county if the board wishes to go and entertain that in the future through a capital improvement program. And one final thing in closing, I'm sorry, I should have mentioned earlier that the Transportation Commission did deny this item. It did deny recommending that the board establish these county highways by unanimous vote.
Thank you, Mr. Letowski. Any questions, Mr. Letowski? Anybody on the phone have a question, Mr. Letowski? Hearing none, what's the pleasure of the board?
Do we want to continue it for another 60 days?
I'll make a motion to deny item 33, resolution 2016-105.
I have a motion to deny. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion for denial signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 34, I believe this needs to be pulled and continued because it was posted wrong.
I move that we pull item 34 of the agenda and have it reposted.
Second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? The only discussion I would have is that I believe this Kingman Farms, or the new name that we're using, is filed for bankruptcy. So I don't know if we've taken that into consideration or if it will affect us on our decision that we're going to make. That's all I had. So we have a motion and a second. With no further discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 35, discussion possible action. Approve and authorize the chairman to sign a lease and sublease agreements with the city of Bullhead. There's not a public hearing. Do we have a motion or discussion?
I move to approve. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 36, approve combining Risk Management Department and Emergency Services. We have discussion on this item.
I have a question for County Administrator Hendricks.
Right
Do you
ahead.
believe this would be a more efficient use of manpower and resources?
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Moss, I think there's a lot of positives that this proposal brings about, and one of them is efficient use of manpower and resources. The other one is considerable savings by the county. I believe that this move will allow me to get the right people into the right positions and be successful. The sharing of resources is going to amount to about an $81,000 savings to the county in salaries alone. One of the things that I'm really excited about, I've talked to Bill Ekstrom and Robert Taylor and Matt Smith. One of the things that was a concern is that at some future date, one of the proposal is to, because emergency management and risk management work so closely with our civil division, is to move them into the civil suite. And I think that's critical. The county attorney made it clear that at some future date he may want that space back, and I said that we would make accommodations to try to honor that request if at some future date he wanted to expand into that area. But currently, very little of that space is being used. This will help facilitate and encourage an open dialogue between risk management, emergency management, and the county civil division. So I believe it's going to provide us with more effective and efficient structure, and better advice and better decisions coming out of that office.
Good morning. I'd like to make a motion for the approving the combination of the risk management and department and the Homeland Security Emergency Management Division. That would include all 6 items that are with that. Elimination of the risk management director, create a single position, appoint Byron Stewart, promote Michael Browning, locate the office to the 3rd floor of this administration building, and authorize the county administrator to develop any necessary new employment classifications.
I have a motion, but I have some more discussion.
Yeah, here's Supervisor Angus on the phone trying to get a...
Supervisor Angus?
Can you hear me now? I'm so sorry. Don't get an iPhone 7. That's on the record. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you. I have kind of a statement I want to say about this. Since our county administrator believes this is the best solution for our county, I'm going to vote for this. But I have some trepidations and concerns that I want on the record. First, we are telling our citizens that these 2 positions that are merging into one are apparently part-time jobs and have been forever. I have an issue with that. I'm the chairman of the EBT SIR board, and I've been so for 4 years, and I'll tell our citizens that the risk manager job is a very big job. Second, 4 years ago, the Board of Supervisors put that position of risk manager under the control of the board, and that the risk manager reported to us. We changed that with the last risk manager for administrative purposes, and I have concerns about that. I want the risk manager to be free to contact any of the supervisors at any time with problems or concerns. If the board wants this position back, I would be okay with that too. Third, I want this to come back as a report to the board in 6 months for a full report as to how it's all working out. At that time, if it is the resounding success our county administrator believes it will be, and I hope it will be, I want to examine all of our director positions to see if there are any other consolidations that we can do to save the taxpayers even more money. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Bishop.
I have no comments.
Okay, I have some questions. I guess first, I don't see how this combination benefits the public. If somebody can explain that to me. We have 2 departments now. One that is running excellent, the emergency management. We don't have a problem with emergency management. And we have risk management that doesn't have a risk management manager or director, whatever you want to call them. And we're proposing to take the emergency services managers and put them over risk management. We're also, and then we're going to give that person and the person below them pay raises. And we're going to ask the person in risk management who had applied for the job and who makes half of what the guy that we just left us was making, to train the person who's getting the pay raise. And I see no benefit to the public in this. It just seems to benefit, I think it weakens the county, because now we're taking a person who was excellent at his job and cutting his job duties in half. I guess if somebody can explain that to me.
Mr. Chairman, one of the things that we try to do, or I try to do, is if I've got an extremely talented, effective individual, and I believe that they can handle a certain task or certain responsibilities that I've provided with them, I try to place them in that position, so that with strong individuals at the top, I believe it makes our organization stronger. I've got an exceptionally talented individual in Byron Stewart. I don't know if the board knows this, but emergency management is one of the only, I believe it's the only emergency services APWA accredited department in the country, which attests to Byron's excellence. I believe Byron can handle additional responsibilities. That's why I'm proposing this to the board, that the two departments be combined. I believe that by increasing headcount, by the combination of these two departments, it'll make both departments stronger and more effective. There'll be a level of cross-training. There's also a certain level of combined responsibility and confusion over certain responsibilities, especially when dealing with facilities. Emergency management and risk management both have responsibilities of the safety of, for the safety of Mojave County's facilities. And this will not only provide clear direction, it will enhance the staffing of both departments. We can right size in both departments by this combination. And I wouldn't be recommending this move to the board if I didn't think it was in the best interest of Mojave County and our citizens.
I guess my question, when you're saying we're right-sizing, risk management is getting nothing except a guy that come over and oversee him that knows absolutely nothing about risk management. And even if he goes to school to learn about risk management, he has no practical application. I don't see how that goes. Now, I'm also understanding that you alluded to it a little bit about the county attorneys possibly having questions about mingling these departments there, where now you're having people walking through when they have confidentiality on their desk, things like that. You're talking about the Matt Smith might come to us later saying he needs separation. Are we doing any kind of remodeling to give security to the county attorney's confidentiality and also to risk managements, because they deal with a lot of issues that are sensitive that quite possibly emergency management shouldn't be privileged to?
Mr. Chairman and members of the board, in discussions with Bill Ekstrom and Robert Taylor, what we've talked about in the county attorney's office is a clear segregation that risk and emergency management would occupy the very far end of the building. I've talked to my staff. If necessary, there are tall partitions available to make that separation, but if you look at the way the attorney's office civil division is configured right now, there's a tremendous amount of, I'm talking, you know, eight cubicle separation between the two areas. So our attorneys said that they would consolidate at one end, which would be the counter end of the building, and risk management would occupy the far, I believe it's the far east end, which would provide that, I believe, that physical separation that's being required. I would even go so far as to say that risk and emergency management would actually have separate entrances into that suite. the counter area would be utilized obviously by the attorney's office, and the far rear area would be more accessible and more convenient for emergency and risk management. So I believe we can have that. As for expertise, one of the conditions that I placed on the position is that within a year that the risk manager would, risk and emergency manager would have his associate in risk management degree. And we believe that that can actually be obtained between 4 to 7 weeks. So it'll be a fairly intense. So Byron Stewart is a very quick study. He's an incredibly bright person. He's a very talented writer, and he's used to coordinating large groups because he's been responsible and very successful in our federal declared disasters that we've had. And also, they work very closely already with risk management and with the county attorney's office. So I think as for Byron's qualifications, I believe that he'll be up for the task. The other thing is I wanted to make sure that there weren't any gotchas. I contacted the executive director of ASEP and asked him what he thought his opinion was of the proposal, and he's in full support.
I guess the last issue I have is that by combining these departments, we're combining two departments that have a history of personnel issues between the two. And I think we're libeling ourselves with that. With that, that's all I had to say. We have a motion without a second. Do we have a second? Oh, Supervisor Moss.
I would like to make a comment, and then I will second Supervisor Watson's motion. My comment
I'd like to make a comment also.
My comment is that when it comes to organizations, nothing's ever static or set in stone. There's constant adaptation, constant change, because you're always seeking to make progress towards better efficiencies. And I want to applaud County Administrator Hendricks for thinking along these terms. And I think Supervisor Angus's idea to have a review in 6 months is a good one. And with that, I would second Supervisor Watson's motion.
Supervisor Bishop, do you have something to say?
Yes, I just wanted to point out that a lot of our department heads and departments are reorganizing in an effort to do more with less. And with the projected loss of revenue, again, I think if we can review this in 6 months, I think that's a good idea. But doing more with less and saving $81,000 is a good thing, and I hope other departments can be successful. So that's all I wanted to say.
All right, if there's no further discussion, we have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed, same sign. Aye. Motion carries. Item number 37 is discussion possible action to accept a donation of 5-acre parcel. I placed all the information in the backup. Does anybody have any questions of me on that?
No questions. I'll make a motion to formally accept that donation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 38 is instruct staff to investigate acquiring land and a well in the vicinity of the Wickiup. Supervisor Moss.
Yes, there's multiple purposes for this. We do have issues and future developing issues when it comes to road issues and maintenance issues associated with that. And much like item 37, the same land can be used for water and weather monitoring purposes. So I believe it would be beneficial for the citizens of Wickiup and of all Mojave County if we got a better grasp of what's going on there. And for that reason, I think instructing our staff to investigate acquiring a land and well in the vicinity of Wickiup for road maintenance and other issues, not just limited to that, would be for the best interest of Mojave County.
Does anybody have any questions? I have one. I guess it would be of Mr. Letowski. Don't we have state has a yard out there. We've never had any kind of water out there. Did your well go dry? Or we never had?
Chairman Johnson, members of the board, Public Works, when we have a need for water for road maintenance and related activities, we do take from the standpipe at the ADOT maintenance yard in Wickiup. But we currently do not have any parcels in that area whatsoever that enable us to have access to either a working well, say through a lease, or our own parcel to develop a well at this point.
And you have no land there for, any place where we
That's
store
correct.
vehicles or anything?
That's correct, yes. We do not have any property, no maintenance yard at this stage.
And if we find something, this will be paid for out of HERF funds?
Mr. Chairman, may I field that?
Sure.
Okay. Obviously, HERF is governed very strictly on what we can spend money for, roads and streets. Director Lekowski's said that we don't have a yard out there currently. When you look at an area as big as Wickiup, the Big Sandy, just because there is a water well in the Wickiup area, it becomes cost prohibitive to truck that water any great distance, and you'd be able to utilize that water. So the more wells we have in a certain area, the better for roadway purposes. With that said, from a county administrator perspective, I can certainly see a tremendous benefit of having water rights in the Sandy. I think what you'll see in the future is that there's going to be a tremendous benefit to Mojave County and our citizens to have Mojave County have water rights in several areas, in multiple areas, possibly in the southern Sacramento area, in the Wallapai area, in the Truxton area. And how we pay for it is a different thing. I believe this item, all it does is it directs staff to investigate the possibility of a piece of property if we, for the purchase for specific purposes. And what staff would do if the board so chose to move in this direction is we'll pull all that information together along with to see if we have any county property, whether it be from foreclosures or flood control property or anything else, and bring that all back before the board so you can make a business decision on whether to move forward with the purchase of a property and how you would fund that purchase. And we'd provide you with the information on whether staff believes it's for roads and street purposes and HERF could be utilized.
And if I can add to that, Mr. Chair,
Supervisor,
is that this is the beginning steps to doing it. So when it comes to funding sources, we'll have to rely upon staff. And that will depend largely on what the land purposes are. I mean, road maintenance is obviously an important issue out there, but there's also weather monitoring, there's also water, and there's also other purposes that could very well come up. And when staff makes its selection, has an idea and a more specific plan, I think that's the time to address the funding source.
Did you make a motion on that?
I move that we approve item 38 of the agenda.
And I'll second the motion.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 39 is approval and authorize the chairman to sign the First Amendment to real estate contract, purchase contract, and escrow instructions. This is, if everybody saw it, it's just an extension. We're getting $1,000 by extending it. Anybody have a problem with it or questions on it?
I move to approve item 39 of the agenda.
I never turn down money. I'll second the motion.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second to take money. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We are adjourned. Hey.